Hey, aloha, it's Ronnie Margolis with the Margolis team here on beautiful Kauai. And today we're going to talk about the Hawaii housing market, what mortgage rates dropping means, and the impact it might have on you as a home buyer or someone that's refinancing their loan. And my special guest, my good friend Kevin Rudrud from NFN Lending. Kevin has decades of experience. He's a great coach, and his company, NFM Lending, offers superior service in working with our buyers. So it's really an honor to have him here. Kevin, so tell us straight up, the federal funds rate dropped a half a point a couple days ago. It's all over the news, and we've already got buyers saying, hey, I heard interest rates dropped. That's really great. What does it all mean?
So first of all, thanks for the terrific introduction, Ronnie. Really appreciate that. So it means a lot of things, and a lot of them aren't really obvious. So I think the most important thing is that you know, for the typical consumer, you're on Instagram, you're on the internet, you're paying attention, and you saw that the recent news. The federal funds rate has dropped 0.5%. So what a lot of people did is they ran to their mortgage professionals and said, "Oh my gosh, rates dropped. What do we do?" And the first thing to remember is that the federal funds rate is a short-term interest rate. It's the number that banks use to lend each other money overnight. And it's kind of related to mortgage rates, but it isn't the same as mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are more closely related to the 5-year treasury, right? Which is a more long-term type of safe investment. And there's a ton of information on how that all works. And if you'd like to talk about it, you can give me a call. But what's important for you guys to know is two things. One, yes, the Fed did drop the interest rates by 0.5%, but everybody in the mortgage business knew that they were going to do that 2 months ago. There's people that predict this on Wall Street. You can actually look it up. The projection for the rest of the year is another 50 or half a percent to 1%. But so we all knew about it. So why is it news then if everybody knew about it? There's two reasons that it's news. The first one is it's not the dropping of the interest rate that's important to you as a home buyer or a homeowner. The important part is what the Federal Reserve Chairman says after they do it, because that we don't know. We don't know what they're going to say. The forward-looking statements, right? So those forward-looking statements combined with what we already know to really paint the picture for the next couple of years that this is the beginning of the new credit cycle. If you think about where we were, this is the biggest drop to borrowing costs since 2008. And this is the first lowering of the federal funds rate since March of 2020. So if you think of what we thought about money in March 2020, right? Much different than how we're thinking today with these higher levels of inflation, these much higher interest rates. Everybody's payment that's watching this on everything is higher than it was. That's from the old cycle now. The new cycle isn't expected to be raising those payments. The new cycle isn't expecting to be high interest rate environment. Things are supposed to cool down. At least that's the Fed's plan. Obviously, lots of things can happen in the meantime, but the important news for you as a homeowner or somebody who's looking to purchase a home is that the winds have changed. We no longer have a headwind. Now we're starting to feel the wind at our back.
I hope it's a trade wind. It comes from the northeast, as I believe.
Yes.
How will talk about across the spectrum of different loans that we have here in the state of Hawaii, where we've got condos and condotels and rural properties, and here on Kauai, at least USDA loans. The whole
Yep.
island is USDA. How
Yep.
will the change in interest rates? Does it apply across the board? Does it affect different types of products differently?
It does affect different products differently, but it affects them all the same, right? So at a macro level, you can expect lower interest rates for pretty much everything, right? Like if you remember, everybody on this that's watching this should be familiar with, the less risky you are, the lower your interest rate, and the more risky you or the property are, the higher your interest rate is a general rule of thumb. And that's because the investors need to be attracted to that greater amount of risk, and the way they attract them is getting a higher return for their money. And a very pristine type client at the absolute peak was at about 2.5% interest rate. Sounds crazy now, but that's where it was back then. And at that time, the ultimate craziest loans we were doing had an interest rate of like 5.25. So that was kind of the range, like 2.5 for the most vanilla thing ever, and 5.25 for the absolute, most ridiculous, layering of risk that you could come up with. So what we want to do is see that whole group get taken down. And What I'd like to see, where I think would be a really big success, is if we can get that group, that pristine group, down into the 4% range. I think that that'll get our more challenging loans up into the sevens, which is where our really pristine people were a year ago, right? So much more improved situation. The that's amazing for home buyers who bought in the last 2 years. If you bought before the last 2 years, it's not really news to you, except for your property values are going up. If you bought in the last 2 years, it's a huge opportunity. And if you want to take advantage of that opportunity, all you need to do is email your most recent mortgage statement to kevin@nfmlending.com. That's Nancy Frank Mary, and we will adopt your loan and reach out to you when the time is right for you to make a move there. Or if you're looking to purchase a home, it's good news, because now it's important news, because now as the rates drop, your competition level increases, right? If you think about this and you're a home buyer, and how you're getting excited knowing that your monthly payments can be less, you can maybe afford a little higher, bigger house, and this news is really exciting to you. Unfortunately, it's exciting to everyone else. So what I recommend, if you are looking to buy a home, call your realtor now. Take advantage of the rates now. It's a good time to buy for you if there's two things going on in your life. One, you're financially secure and you understand your paycheck and how it's going to be coming, and that's regular for you. And two, you know where you want to live for at least the next 3 to 5 years. If you're not sure if Kauai is right for you, and you think you might be going back to the mainland, or your job may be transferring you to Oahu or something like that, then, or any change like that, might not be the time to buy. But if you know where you're going to live and your job's dialed in, all indications are it's time to buy, and we can help run the numbers. And obviously, Ronnie and his team can help you find a home.
Fantastic. Last question before I let you go to your choir concert. It's 33 days as of our recording today since the rules changed in real estate, and the compensation to the selling agent is no longer published, and the buyer must have an agent to go into the property. What have you seen in this first month in terms of how you interact with the agents, and how the financial piece, how essential it is for an agent to optimize their buyer's opportunity to get the property they want?
So this is a really great question. I didn't know you were going to ask it, but I have the perfect answer for you. This new world, there's only one real thing that matters to you as a consumer, and that is having the most professional realtor you can find. And the reason I say that is because the agents that are thriving and still driving fantastic deals for their clients, and still making everything work, and still keeping things together and getting people awesome houses, are much more valuable now than they were in the previous market. And any top professional real estate agent like Ronnie and his team can explain that to you at the first meeting. It's not as easy to find a realtor as it was, because it used to be you just kind of like meet up with somebody and they'd help you out. But now agents, or any agent you want to work with, will sit you down before you look at property, have a professional conversation with you, explain to you how they're going to help you, articulate, you can articulate to them exactly what you need in a property, and you should really start feeling better. And those professional agents are now much more able to help you in this new environment. I'll let Ronnie and his team kind of explain how that is. But the days of just working with the guy that's kind of a part-timer, those types are kind of behind us. But the professional agent is worth their weight in gold, and Ronnie can definitely help you there.
Okay, I didn't pay him to say that, and I didn't know what he was going to say.
It's my belief. That's my religion in my heart. Like
Pivot just a little bit. Take us down into the weeds a little bit. Have you had opportunities where the buyer compensation, the compensation to the selling agent, the buyer's agent, is being negotiated, and you've got to look through the numbers and what the buyer's options are and how much cash they might have, especially for a more entry-level buyer, which on my island of Kauai is about $700,000.
Yep. So
what have you seen there?
Well, there's two I guess boundaries, right? There's the person that has a ton to put down. Like if you're buying your 10th house and you're well along in life and you're very established, and you're buying a home and you have a ton to put down, this isn't even a question. It's not a question at all, because you've got the bank accounts are full. We're just moving money around and putting it where it best needs to go to close. So it's important to understand where it's all going, but there isn't really a situation where if you want the house, you're not going to get it. That's the first thing to think about, right? So if you're well capitalized and you've been doing this a long time, you're good. Now, most of our audience here on this video is probably people buying their first home. And the challenge there is if you don't have enough, for down payment and closing costs and realtor commissions, then you may, the worry is that you would miss out on a house. Well, the good news is, and one of the main reasons that Ronnie and his team are partnered with us is on Kauai specifically, we have zero down programs, meaning you bring in nothing, no down payment at all, go all the way up to $1 million. And this is not the USDA. This is not the VA, right? This is a proprietary program to my company. So we can shrink that out and make it so you don't have to worry about down payment. You would have closing costs and realtor commissions can often be paid with seller credits, which would mean Ronnie and his team would negotiate the seller to help participate in your closing costs. So that'd be the most extreme example. So if you get a huge seller credit and you have a program that has very little down payment, it is possible still to buy a house with minimal investment of your own. But this is what I meant by, I know that sounds there's like a lot of detail to that. This is what I meant by, it's so important to have a professional real estate agent and a professional loan professional, because I don't know what the number is, but it's at least 3 and 4 real estate agents aren't going to know exactly how to put things together the way I just explained for people with minimum capital, and the same amount of loan officers. So you're really if you're out there in the world, this is what I meant by you need a professional, because they have to have a play for you. They have to have an ability for you if you're a low down or first time home buyer to purchase the home. And that's the kind of stuff you talk about at that first presentation when you're going over the value of the real estate agent and the agreement in order to have maximum success as a consumer.
Fantastic.